Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another amazingly unscripted video where today I'm going to be talking about this. So this is a box of my favourite childhood toys from Robot Wars. Now, I have talked about Robot Wars before. In fact, I just did a VHS review where I talked about an episode of the show, and it was basically my favourite show when I was growing up. You know, some kids liked football or tennis. I liked watching robots fight, and you can make of that what you will, but I just think it's really cool and exciting. I'm still really into it now, so because of that, I used to collect all kinds of Robot Wars merchandise, and that, of course, includes the toys like this. So I might talk about some other stuff later on, but for now I'm just going to look through this big red box and see what memories we can dig out, robot memories. There are also a few BattleBots toys in here as well, I think. BattleBots is basically the American version of Robot Wars, and if you haven't seen either of them, then I'd probably recommend checking them out, because otherwise it's just going to sound like I'm talking gibberish through the whole video. So you can find episodes of Robot Wars on YouTube, and if you want them in HD, you can find them on Mech Plus, which is like a streaming service for tech shows and things like that. And for BattleBots, if you're from America, you can watch it on Discovery Plus. But if you're not from America, you'll either have to do what I do and have a very, very nice friend who'll lend you their Discovery Plus account, or you'll have to get it from your buddy Captain Jack Sparrow, if you know what I mean. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's dig through this big red box and see what memories we can find. It's almost like Toy Story 2, isn't it, with all those toys in the bin. So first up in this box of memories, we have Hypnodisc. Probably one of the most famous Robot Wars competitors, and sort of one of the first big spinning weapons. So you can see this big spinning disc on the front. It's very entrancing, isn't it? Like, ooh, you must subscribe to the channel. Yeah, that'll work. But yeah, so I think this was one of the first Robot Wars toys that came out. Hypnodisc. It was probably one of the first competitors to be released. And this disc would destroy everything. I mean, if you look back at the old early series of Robot Wars, it would just rip other opponents to shreds. Armor would go flying, you know, wheels would be coming off, and it really was one of the most effective designs back in the early days of Robot Wars, because robots didn't have great armor then, so Hypnodisc was able to exploit that and really destroy a few robots pretty badly. I think there was one robot called Splinter, and it got turned into splinters, let me tell you. There wasn't much left of that robot by the end, by the time Hypnodisc was finished with it. But this is a cool toy. So it was the thing with these toys is that they're on pullback motors, so you pull it back and look, ooh, see, it goes off on its own steam and the disc spins. So that's what powers the disc. And it also had a little sort of self-righting arm here, so this was supposed to get Hypnodisc back onto its wheels, which it didn't have at first, but they added this in their second season so they could flip themselves back over, because that was a weakness first time around. And another thing I like about this is that you can pop off the back panel. So I think this was, you could swap it out with, it's sort of another panel that had spikes on it. I have that somewhere else. But yeah, you could do this, and they sort of showed off all the electronics inside, so you could see the motors and stuff. And that was always useful when you were playing with it, so if you wanted to beat Hypnodisc, you'd just pop this off and show all the guts spilling out. And I used to, I taped this together so it would stay on better, I think. So yeah, that was Hypnodisc. Definitely a classic robot. And next we have Panic Attack. So this is a Welsh robot, so this was from Cardiff or something like that, so somewhere like that. And it was the champion of the second series of Robot Wars, so this is a championship robot. And it's very yellow, isn't it? Probably one of the most garish machines, but it looks good, doesn't it, with the yellow and black hazard stripes. I think it's a little bit different from how it looks in real life, because the real robot used to have like a big spider design on top here, but for some reason that's not on the toy. And another thing is that this lid would sort of lift up, so Panic Attack could self-right. But they put the big lifting forks on it, so you could move this back and forth to lift other robots. So if I get the Hypnodisc and I just want to flip it over, well, it's a bit hard, isn't it, with lifting forks? See, I can't even lift it. But yeah, there's art imitating life, or whatever you call it. But yeah, Panic Attack was a good robot, very well driven, but kind of went on the decline in later years. It wasn't as strong in later series as its early career, and it got pretty smashed up because I think they changed the design, they changed the color, and then it got smashed up, and then it got crushed by a crab. So yeah, it was a bit of an ignominious end for Panic Attack. But this was a nice toy. So this is Wheelie Big Cheese. Yeah, a big block of cheese, right? This is another pretty well-known robot, I think, which basically was just a big flipper. So if I open this up, you can see it was just a huge flipper. So what it would do is it would catapult robots basically across the arena. And very famously, there was one robot there it fought called Axor, and Wheelie Big Cheese just threw it straight up in the air, halfway across the arena, and it flew into orbit and landed back down to Earth with a bang. So that's probably what Wheelie Big Cheese is most known for having the biggest flip in Robot Wars. But it might not be the biggest flip. If you compare it to the modern sort of days now with BattleBots, it might not be the biggest flip, because I think sort of robots like Hydra have flipped other robots higher than that, and I think even Riptide sent Hypershock into the ceiling. So yeah, other robots are actually, you know, flipping higher than Wheelie Big Cheese now. But I suppose it would be nice to test how far this thing can flip. So if I put Panic Attack on here, and I think there's a little switch that activates the flipper. Yeah, see, that does flip pretty well actually for Wheelie Big Cheese. So you know, I want to do that again actually. Let's do it again and see how high we can get Panic Attack. Yeah, hours of fun this was. Yeah, it is. It's not bad. So the toy is pretty accurate actually. It flips pretty well. So that's Wheelie Big Cheese, and I like the picture of the cat on the front as well. Look at that, like the cat going after some cheese. And next we have Razor. So I imagine most people, even people who aren't familiar with Robot Wars, they kind of know who Razor is. It seems to be one of the most recognizable robots from just robot combat in general, really, because it has a very sort of sleek, good-looking design. You know, it's sort of based on I think it was based on an eagle, so it was kind of like the beak here with the wings here. So these wings that would come out. So it looked really really flashy and stylish. So the thing about Razor is that it had this enormous crushing beak, and what it would do is it would sort of just lower the beak down and sink, you know, its teeth into the opponents and put loads and loads of holes in them and create lots of damage. But on the toy, usually the first thing that would break is the crusher. So this thing is meant to stay up, but it's kind of loose. So the mechanism inside would snap, because I think what's meant to happen is that you'd press the button and it would snap down, even though, well, it's sort of more of a slower motion in real life, so maybe this is more accurate to do it this way. And the wings would always snap off as well, so and this one's missing a wheel actually, so it's been through the ringer. But at least the wings are still there, because that was always the best thing, that it would bring the wings out for a celebration. It's a victory celebration. And it really does look like a bird getting ready to strike. So Razor, a pretty cool machine. This is Dantomkia, and this is a flipping robot. You can see there the big flipper on the front that you operate with your finger. And this was one of the quite a successful robot, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, has the record for flipping the most opponents out of the arena. So that was its signature, really. It would flip robots right out of the arena. This is one of the most sturdy toys, really, because it's got this sort of little tail on the back that keeps it very stable when you're flipping things. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to use back in the day. And just to use Paul Panic Attack again as a little demonstration, it was quite powerful as well. So yeah, so it really would flip things pretty well. Whoa! See, that's what's fun about it. I love flipping stuff. It's great. Flippers are so much fun, and I think it's really fast as well. Like if you do that right into the palm of my hand, it's pretty quick. So this is a very well-made, sturdy toy. I really like this one. So Dentom Kia. Yes, a yellow peril. This is Exterminator 2 to be precise, and the thing about this robot is that it actually was never released separately. It was always included with part of a big playset that was like an obstacle course. It was called the Gauntlet, so it was like this big playset that you'd have to race Exterminator over. And I remember getting that one Christmas, and all I really cared about was the toy. Really, I wasn't really that interested in the Gauntlet set. I just wanted this toy. It's got a big axe on the front, so the axe would come down like so, and attack my finger. And it also had these little things on the side to so it would self-right if it was stuck on its side. Oh, it actually doesn't work on the toy. Well, shocking. Shockingly poor quality. Oh, that side works, so maybe it's bent or something, I don't know. But when I did the VHS review of Robot Wars, Exterminator was actually the winner on the episode that I talked about, so that's pretty cool. But it was kind of hit and miss, Exterminator. It didn't always do the best until later on they changed the design, and then it started doing really well with because they changed the design from an axe to a big vertical spinner. It was one of the first big vertical spinners to really be effective in Robot Wars, and now almost everyone has a vertical spinner, so it became really common. So I guess Exterminator was one of the first to really make that work in Robot Wars. And one other thing about this toy is that if you look at the axe, it's actually backwards. Like, see the XT? It's like upside down. And I think it was in real life it was the other way around. So apparently they must have reversed that or got it wrong when they molded the toy. But other than that, it's pretty nice. You know, it's got lots of battle scars and things like that. See on the scoop. So that kind of stuff's pretty cool. All the damage. And next we have Tornado, which is looking pretty busted, isn't it? It's looking like it's been through quite a few battles, and that's probably because it did. I think I had this for a long time, and basically it was a big box that would push things around. So it was basically relied on brute force to shove robots around the arena, and it had this disc at the front that would sort of chew up other opponents. And also, one thing about Tornado is that this sort of section would come out, and they'd change the weapons on the front. So one thing that they had is this. So they had a scoop that would they included on the toy. So sometimes they put a scoop on the front to shove robots around. And famously, they again, this is another champion robot. So this Tornado won the 6th series of Robot Wars by beating Razor by basically putting a giant cage all around the robot, so Razor couldn't get hold of it. So they were very canny and very clever about their strategy in how to beat certain robots. So that was one of the best robots that had interchangeable weapons on the front, was Tornado. It does run upside down as well, but not that great because of the pullback mechanism, I guess. But you know, it does go upside down like a tornado coming straight at you. Pussycat is our next robot, Pussycat, and this is a very unusual design, but actually surprisingly effective. This was came second in the 4th series of Robot Wars, and it had a big circular saw on the front. And this is another thing that broke on the toys, is that this thing is supposed to be, you know, motorized, so you pull it back and it spins, but it's just broken. So yeah, it's a very unusual design, but basically the idea the reason it's called Pussycat is because it always lands on its feet. So no matter which way you put it, whether it's on its side or upside down or right way up, it's always on its wheels, so it's always going. And I think they used to hand paint this robot, and they'd sort of, you can see there, they'd paint their opponents that they'd beaten onto it. So you can see Razor there. So that one's Razor, because infamously Pussycat and Razor had a bit of a rivalry. So they fought a couple times, and I think Pussycat beat them both times. I don't think Razor ever managed to beat Pussycat, so it was always victorious. So this was actually, despite being a novel design, actually very effective. I think it won quite a lot of fights and won a few competitions, but I think nowadays it probably wouldn't be as effective because of the ground clearance underneath. So a lot of flippers would be able to get straight under Pussycat now and flip it all over the place. Because nowadays it's all about being low to the ground. You want to be as low to the ground as possible so people can't get under you. But back in the day, Pussycat, a pretty fine machine. So next up we have Firestorm, which is my second favourite robot from Robot Wars, and it probably shows again, because look how worn this is. It's very worn, isn't it? Yeah, I don't even think you can see the Firestorm logo from how worn it is. That's how much I've used this as a kid, but it's basically a front hinged flipper, so most flippers are sort of hinged at the back, but Firestorm hinged at the front, so it comes out like that. Like so, and you can see all the internals inside, which is pretty cool. And it's really the only robot with this kind of flipper to truly be effective. That's, why I liked it, because it would just flip everything over. It was really well driven and effective, and it never quite went all the way though. It would always finish something like third, I think. I think they finished third 3 times, and it never quite went all the way, so maybe it's one of the sort of unlucky robots never to be a champion despite being so effective. And I'd like to see this back, actually. I'd like Firestorm to come back into BattleBots or something and make this sort of front hinged flipper design effective again, because no one's really sort of made this kind of flipper useful since Firestorm. It's never quite come back into style, but it would be nice to see. And this is Stinger, so this is a bit of a wacky creation, isn't it? Look at this, with its sort of, I think axle bots you call these, where there's sort of the axle in the middle with the 2 big wheels up on either side. And basically Stinger had a nice big mace, and it would spin around like this and cause all kinds of damage, and slam the mace back and forth like this, so it would give robots a good thumping. It did have a really good run in the 4th season of Robot Wars. I think it made it to the top 4, I think, back in the day. The thing about the toy is that it was kind of like, a bit like a Beyblade, if you can believe it. So see this hole here? Basically, you'd put a ripcord through this, and you'd pull the ripcord like a Beyblade, and it would make Stinger spin all around the place. So, yeah, it would do that, but I didn't really care about the gimmicks much. I'd just sort of throw the ripcord away and just spin it like this to use it properly on its own. So yeah, but it would cause a lot of damage. I think this thing is heavy enough that it would sort of break pieces off of robots, the toys, if you weren't too careful. I remember snapping a couple things off the toys with this by spinning it. So yeah, real toys, real damage. And here we have my very favourite Robot Wars robot, maybe of all time really, perhaps, is Chaos 2. So this is my favourite robot from Robot Wars, and it absolutely shows, because look how knackered it is. You can tell this is a robot that I've used more than any other, because I just, this was my favourite robot, Chaos 2. And you can probably tell, but it basically has a big flipper, so I think this was pretty much the first ever flipping robot, in the truest sense of having a big flipping plate that would flip other robots over. And it's quite a detailed toy, actually, because they put all the sort of machinery in the back. So there was a fire extinguisher. That was what powered the flipper. It was powered by carbon dioxide. So you'd use a fire extinguisher to sort of fire the rams and activate the flipper. And you can see the sort of the battery in here. So it was actually pretty accurate for a toy. It's a really nice toy, but it is wrecked because I've really, I use this more than anything else. And this robot won more than anything else when I played with it. So whenever I'd played with the toys, Chaos 2 would more often than not be the winner. In fact, Chaos 2 was actually the only robot to win 2 series of Robot Wars, so it won the 3rd series and the 4th series back to back, which no one else ever did on Robot Wars. So Chaos 2, the best performing robot in Robot Wars. And it was just always a robot that was fun to watch. It was really well driven as well, and just very, very effective, you know, because most robots couldn't self-right back then, and Chaos 2 was the first robot to exploit that, really. It would attack the house robots, it would, and then it was most famous maybe for flipping other opponents out of the arena. It was the first ever robot to get another robot over the fence and out, which it did a firestorm, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, Chaos 2, very famous for that, you know. It was so good, it could predict where other robots would land. Like once it flipped someone, it would know exactly where to position itself to have the robot land back on the flipper and flip it again. And on the toy, the way the flipper was supposed to work is that you'd press this button and the flipper would come up. But again, it was one of those things that was really easy to break, so you just get used to using it by your hand, like this. So let's just flip something again, because you know I love flipping stuff. There we are. There over goes Razor. Over and over again. So another famous aspect of Robot Wars was the house robots. So these were, unlike the competitor robots, these were much bigger, meaner, heavier robots that were basically supposed to be big bullies. So they'd sort of stay in the corners, and if you went into the corner, you'd get ripped apart, or if you got beaten, they just sort of toy around with the losing robot and destroy it. And drop it into the pit or something like that. So this is Sir Kill-A-Lot, who is, at the time, was the biggest and the meanest house robot. He's basically like some great big sort of evil tank with a huge lance on the front, which sort of was like a drill. It sort of spun around and stuff like that. And a giant claw that would really do a lot of damage and just cut robots in half. And it actually works too. So yeah, I can put my finger in there. Ooh. Yeah, it doesn't hurt, it's okay. I'm okay. It's sort of like a big, kind of like a dinosaur too. It's got like, the spines on the back. So just a really sort of cool design, the way they molded all this. And you can kind of see the internals in the back there. So yeah, this is a pretty cool toy. Even though it doesn't actually run on tracks. The tracks aren't real. I guess that's the only shame. It runs on wheels, so it sort of marches towards you like that. The next house robot is Matilda, who's sort of the female of the group, I guess, and she was like another big sort of evil dinosaur, and with tusks at the front, so those would flip other opponents over and leave them to roast. And one notable feature is that she also had a weapon in her backside. So she had a giant spinning disc at the back. In the early series, it was a chainsaw, and I think you can swap this out with a chainsaw attachment, but I'm not sure where it is. So I just have the disc now. So yeah, you can actually insert a spinning disc into a robot's backside. But I never thought I'd be doing that on camera. putting things into a robot's rear. So yeah, that's Matilda. Sergeant Bash. So this is the military robot, I guess, with a spinning disc at the back and some nasty-looking pincers with a kind of a face. I'm not sure if that eye was on the real robot, but yeah. So the pincers work. And it's got a really cool kind of military look with a big flamethrower on top. Though that was the main thing about Sergeant Bash. So it was like a missile, you'd fire this like that, and usually lose this. So yeah, this thing would, get lost under the bed or something like that very easily. It's kind of rare to find him with the flames still intact. But yeah, Sergeant Bash, standing to attention. So this is Dead Metal, sort of a personal favourite of mine. I just kind of really like the look of this one, kind of like part dinosaur, part crab or something, with the pincers at the back. It's just got a really great look, and this is one I'd always break though, because it has this very finicky saw on the front that's supposed to come out like that. So Yeah, but I remember this coming all the way out and just snapping away, and yeah, it wasn't. It was an easy toy to break back then, and I think these spines would snap off too. But it looks really good. You know, I think it's a bit thin compared to the real thing. Like, it's supposed to be wider, but we still modelled this pretty accurately, right down to the saw. Yeah. So, dead metal. Turns out the robot's into scrap. So the last of the original house robots, which is Shunt, which is another sort of favourite of mine, you know, with its dual scoop kind of thing, front scoop at the back and the plough at the front. Most people don't know, actually, that I think everyone thinks that this is the front of Shunt. I mean, I guess it should be, really, shouldn't it? Because that's where the main weapon is, like the axe. But whenever you see pictures of Shunt, it's always this bit that's facing the camera. So that's kind of really weird that they said this was the front, apparently. So they say. But, you know, I actually do think this should be the front, and that's what everyone else thinks, but it's not. This is the front of Shunt. But yeah, cool robot, and I think it kind of has a bump and go feature where it's supposed to, when you pull it back, it bumps backwards and forwards like that against my hands, so that's the special feature on that one. And the axe, of course, which comes down with great force. Well, in your imagination it does anyway when you're playing with it, but yeah, Shunt, pretty cool. Whoa. Here we have some rare ones. These are house robots that were introduced later, after the sort of the first few seasons. So this is Growler, who's sort of the world's most evil robot pooch. I really like the look of this one. This one's a favourite. So it has a nice big jaw like that you can just bite down on things, like my poor fingers. Yeah, and it's very sturdy too, so you can bash this around all day and it won't break, you know. But the thing about this as well is that in one series he actually had a flamethrower that came out of his backside, but I don't think it was used very much. It was retired pretty quickly, but he was supposed to have a flamethrower rear, a physical, literal rear flamethrower in his butt. So there we go. But Growler, this is a cool one, but really hard to find, yeah. These are pretty hard to find, the Growler. And here is Refbot, probably the most underwhelming house robot maybe, but he wasn't meant for combat, he was meant to be a referee. So he even looks like a referee, like he's got the jacket with the stripes and stuff. And I think it's supposed to be like a kneeling ref or something, so those are supposed to be like his boots, the bottoms of his boots, so he's like kneeling and things like that, and he has a big plough at the front. So basically what he was there for is to keep order in the arena, so he'd break up house robots if they were misbehaving, and he'd put out fires with a fire extinguisher that he had at the back there, so that was it. And I think if you press this, yeah, moves the arms up and down, his head shaking his head at some sort of rule infraction. But yeah, Refball. And the other thing he'd do, but it isn't on this toy, is that he'd have, later on he had a counter, so he'd count robots out. So it would be numbers up here that would go up to 10, and when he counted to 10, the other robot was counted out. So yeah, but they should have put that on the toy, they should have done that, but they didn't. This is sort of the earliest version of Refbot. And finally, the rarest of them all is this, Mr. Psycho. So this is definitely a very, very, very rare just toy in general, because they didn't make many of these. So he was introduced alongside Growler, and he was just huge. He was like twice the size of Killalot, and he had this massive claw. And one thing about this toy as well, that it's even harder to find one that isn't broken, so because this claw would snap off very, very easily. But I'm very lucky to have mine still intact. And another thing that he had is a big mallet. It's like a Tom and Jerry cartoon or something, like a big mallet that comes down. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And he's just huge. He's enormous. In fact, where's Sir Killalot? Just to show how big he is by comparison. Look, he's like twice his size. It's even worse on the show, actually. He's much, much bigger than Killalot, with a huge, but sort of the same design. I guess he was just meant to one-up Sir Killalot and be his even eviler bigger brother. So yeah, Mr. Psycho. Very rare toy too. I think this is worth about 100 quid now, so, if you got one of these, it's very rare. So yeah, it's worth something. Mr. Psycho. But I keep mine. I'm always going to keep my Robot Wars stuff, because I'm sentimental that way. So yeah, Mr. Psycho. He is a psycho. Look at him. Yeah. Ooh. So I also have some BattleBots toys as well from BattleBots, not just Robot Wars. So these are some other toys I've collected over the years because they're, equally as cool in my opinion. I'm a big fan of BattleBots, so I picked up some of the toys to put them on display. So here's Tombstone, which is probably the most famous robot from BattleBots, with sort of the hypno disc basically. Every sort of robot show has its hypno disc, really destructive robots, and in the case of BattleBots, that's Tombstone, which has a huge bar on the front, which to destroy other opponents and rip them to pieces and put them in a grave, I guess. So it'll run upside down as well. So it's it was a very effective robot in the sort of early seasons of BattleBots. It would regularly get to the sort of top 4, and champion of the World Championship 2, I think it was, in BattleBots. So it won the second season of BattleBots, but in the sort of the more recent seasons, it's kind of like Hypnodisc had a bit of a decline because it's a bit too powerful for its own good now, and other opponents can stand up to Tombstone and sort of weather the storm, and it sort of destroys itself more often than not now. And it wasn't even in the last season of BattleBots actually, because the driver Ray Billings injured his hand, so he couldn't really drive it. But I'm hoping he'll be back again next series, so we'll see if Tombstone can improve. Maybe it will. Maybe it'll be upgraded and reliable once more. But this is a really cool toy. And the thing about the BattleBots toys is that they actually are radio controlled. So I don't think I have one of the controllers though. So what you do is press this button to pair it with the remote control, and this thing will actually drive and spin up. So I'd have to see if I could find the controller to get it to work. But yeah, good toy, and pretty powerful too. When you actually use this thing with the controller, it can actually whack pieces off the other toys. And this is Blacksmith, sort of from some of the earlier seasons of BattleBots. This is a really cool looking one with the sort of metal plates and stuff, and the wedge up front, and obviously a nice big hammer. So the hammer comes down like this, and I think in the show like flames would come out of the hammer. So this is a pretty flashy robot on TV, but quite a nice looking toy. And whoop, look, see, that's one thing about these toys, is that the armor panels come off. So this is actually you can actually see inside and see all the actual technology that makes the robot tick. And it looks like there is a lot going on in here, doesn't there? But I couldn't explain any of it because I'm not that technologically minded. I just like watching it. So yeah, Blacksmith, which never performed too well, I think, in the in BattleBots. It's never really had that good a run, but fun robot to watch. So this is Biohazard. This is from the yeah, look, it comes apart. Look at this thing. Yeah, they really wanted this robot to come apart. Look at that. It'll the panels just come off. But this was a competitor from the early version of BattleBots that was on Comedy Central back in the early 2000s, around the same time as Robot Wars, and I think it was the most successful. If I remember rightly, it's a 4-time BattleBots champion. So this bot did really well back then. So, but all it was really was just a very low bot with a lifting arm, but it was very effective and well driven, so that's why it had so much success. And I doubt this ever happened to it, where pieces would just come off like that. Yeah, this is a very easy robot to destroy, so I guess if you were playing with it, yeah, that was good for battle damage. So this is Tazbot, another BattleBots, an old BattleBots robot with sort of a kind of a funny weapon, really, sort of a rotating turret, I guess you'd call it, so to lift other opponents up. So pretty wacky design. But the thing about the old BattleBots toys is that I don't know if you can even see, but in the back here, but you see this really long tail here on the back. Basically, the thing about the old BattleBots toys is that they used to have this thing where they detach a really long handle to the back. So if you picture my fist sort of gripped around a handle, that would you'd pull the handle and sort of it would move the weapon up and down and things like that. But it was so huge, it made it really cumbersome to use it. It was, so say you had like an arena or something, it would just take up so much space. It was like, I can't even use the toy. So what you do is you get a big pair of scissors and cut the cords attached to the handle and get rid of the handle. So you could just have the toy like that, and that's what I used to do. So it made it just much more fun to use on its own like that. So yeah, that was TASBot. And this is another robot dissector with the same principle. See, long tail with is supposed to be a big handle, but I've cut it off with a pair of scissors because it's no fun to use with the handle. So yeah, this had a sort of two big axes. I think one of them snapped off, so I think I've broken that at some point in some battle or other, and a big pincer at the front. And I think now this design has sort of evolved into Lockjaw in the new BattleBot seasons. It's built by Donald Hudson, I think his name is, and he also built TASBot, but he sort of evolved this design into Lockjaw, which you see nowadays in BattleBot. So, you know, it doesn't matter what age you are really with robot fighting. A lot of the old timers still they still compete, they still build new robots and keep going. So that's pretty cool. So this is another old school BattleBots robot. This one's called Alpha Raptor, I think. It later became Ghost Raptor in the newer BattleBots seasons, but I don't really know as much about the old BattleBots show. I just watched the new one, but basically I think this was a middleweight robot, so it was lighter than the heavyweight ones, obviously, and it just had a sort of a lifting pitchfork type thing with more cracked pieces that come out, because they love battle damage on these old BattleBots toys. But yeah, it's neat enough design. Basic box with runs upside down with a lifting arm attachment. But I'm not sure how well this did, so because I don't know as much about the older BattleBots robots, so yeah, someone else will have to tell me that. So this is Rotator, but it's a very old version of Rotator now. It doesn't really look like this anymore, this robot. It had two discs on it, so it had one disc at the bottom and one disc up the top. So that was the idea, that it could attack from both sides, but now it just has one disc, and it's sort of much smaller than this now. It's more compact and a bit more effective, really. Rotator is kind of one of those robots I have a soft spot for. It feels like it's a robot that could have a really good run, but it just doesn't have enough luck, I don't think. So it always seems to run into a bit of a brick wall. Like, most of the time it gets taken out by champions, you know, eventual champions, so it's lost to Bite Force, Endgame, and gotten pretty smashed up. But, you know, I think with a good run, Rotator could be a finalist maybe, or a champion at some point, if he just has a good run. Minotaur. Now this is a really popular robot in BattleBots now, and a very, 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 you know, consistent and effective design. It's very compact, but it has this enormous spinning drum on the front. If you watch BattleBots, just look up some of the Minotaur fights. I mean, they've been amazing. Usually, win or lose, this bot puts on a good show. So if you watch its fights with Cobalt or Sawblaze, it's just doesn't matter whether they win or lose, they put on a show. Definitely. It's from Brazil, actually, this robot. It's made in Brazil, and they know how to build robots in Brazil, I can tell you. But this one, what battle damage is on this one, so the sides come off like that. So you can knock those bits off. And I think the top comes off as well, so you can see all the lovely internals. Look at that, a naked Minotaur. Yeah, but I like this robot. It's always good fun. Always good fun to watch. And the driver's pretty crazy too. He's always like screaming his head off. So this is always an entertaining robot, Minotaur. So this is a bot where, yeah, look up some of its fights. Definitely a pretty crazy robot. But never quite gone all the way yet. So they're still waiting to get their hands on a trophy. But it hasn't quite happened for them yet. But maybe next time, who knows. Bronco. So this is another flipping robot. And an example of, you can see, this was another one of those toys that had a big handle on the back. But actually, when they released these later on, with the later BattleBot seasons, they actually had a clip, so you could just unclip it. Probably because they knew, like, kids are just cutting these with scissors, so let's just have it be removable, or not have it at all, like I do in this case. So it's just a very nice, simple toy with the, kind of like Denton Kia, with the, just use your finger to operate the flipper. And that's about it, yeah. Just a nice classic toy design for a robot. Bronco. And I think this is the original version of Bronco. In the first season of BattleBots, they replaced it with this. So they redesigned Bronco, and made it even bigger with an even bigger flipper. So it's like twice the size, and much more, longer, much longer, with the wedges on the back and stuff to deflect spinners. But this bot, unfortunately, isn't really seen anymore. It's sort of retired, because the thing about Bronco is that it was really dominant in the early seasons of BattleBots, where, it gets to the semi-finals, quarter-finals, but then one season, they just crashed out and lost every fight. And it was, I guess it must have been a big shock to them or something, because they haven't come back after that season. So, and sort of other flippers have come along, like Hydra and Blip, that flip a lot higher now. And I guess they've stolen a bit of Bronco's thunder. So Bronco now, I think it's been sold actually, so now it only competes at live events for BattleBots. They've sort of sold it on to BattleBots, and it just does demonstrations now in Vegas at the live show of BattleBots. So that's where Bronco is now, and it doesn't really compete anymore. So, but it's immortalized forever in toy form, so that's pretty nice. Duck. Yeah, so Duck. This is it looks like a duck. You can see the beak there with sort of a lifter that goes from forwards to backwards. And the thing about Duck is that you can probably tell this was not a very competitive robot, but one thing it was is very durable. So you could smack this robot all day long and it wouldn't stop. In fact, there's one fight in particular that this bot had with Cobalt, where Cobalt was just destroying it, and they ripped the wedge off and smashed it to pieces, but it kept on going, and they won because Cobalt got stuck. So yeah, Duck, don't mess with the Duck. It's I think it's retired now. It hasn't been around in a couple of years, but it was a very, very tough robot, despite not being very effective with the lifter. So it's still a great robot to watch for its durability. So Duck and cover. This is Beta, and this is a robot that's actually still around now. So this is a British robot built by John Reed, who competed in the early days with Kilohertz and Terahertz, and basically this was his BattleBots robot, Beta, and he still fights with it now. So it's just, all it is a big hammer, so you can see there, the hammer comes down, and that's it. Just one nice big hammer to smash other robots from up top, and lots of pieces come off this as well, so you can see at all the internals inside. But yeah, it still competes now, and it still does okay. It's really good against horizontal spinners, but really bad against vertical ones. They haven't really worked out their defense against verticals. Still a good robot. I have a bit of a soft spot for it, so I still like watching Beta whenever it competes. So hopefully it'll be back again next time around in BattleBots. This is Witch Doctor. Witch Doctor, this is another quite a famous robot in BattleBots, and one of the most long-time competitors too. I don't think they've ever missed a season of BattleBots, but this is the first version, so it kind of looks like a kid's toy, really, doesn't it? It's very boxy, and you can tell it's an early design with the sort of spooky skeleton Halloween kind of theme, which is pretty cool. And the top comes off this, I think, so again, lovely internals. They love naked robots on BattleBots toys. And, oh, see, and even the front comes off, the front of the scoop. Yeah, those come off, so they love having bits you can whack off. Yeah, and so it's always been armed with a vertical spinner, which is a very effective design nowadays in BattleBots. Most of the robots are vertical spinners because they do the most damage and the most effective at getting under opponents and throwing them around. So this was the early version of Witch Doctor, and I also have the other version. So this is the second version of Witch Doctor. This is sort of what it evolved into. It looks a bit like this now. It's kind of evolved over the years, but it's still the same general design. This has got the sort of drum on the front, though, the two teeth on the disc, and it has this cool ribcage design. So even more sort of voodoo-esque and Halloween, and I think the whole ribcage comes off. Yeah, so there you go. And it's a self-righting mechanism, so the ribcage actually is supposed to right the robot, like so. So Yeah, Witch Doctor. It's a machine that looks cooler and cooler, Witch Doctor. But again, another one that's never quite gone all the way, but they have gotten close. They've come second twice, actually. So twice they've made it to the final and not quite gone all the way. They've been beaten by Bite Force and Tantrum. So they're still waiting to get their hands on a trophy. So maybe next time for Witch Doctor. But this was a fun one to watch. Whiplash is our next robot. This is Whiplash, and I have a very soft spot for this robot because it's all about the driving with Whiplash. It's just you know, it's kind of like Tornado in that sense that it's just all about control, pushing other robots, bossing them around. So basically, the main weapon on this is the lifter that doesn't quite come up unless you radio control it. But you know, and it has a big disc on the front. But sometimes it runs without the disc. And it just has the lifter, because that's really the main point of it, is to lift other robots and shove them around and take control of them. So it's a really fun robot to watch for its driving ability. The driver is, he's only a young guy, Matt Vasquez, but he knows how to drive robots, I'll tell you that. And so he's a really good driver, and I always like watching Whiplash. And you know, it didn't have the best season last time around. It ran into a lot of vertical spinners that ripped it to shreds because that's its main weakness, but you know, still a good driver, and you know, I think maybe it'll have its due one day. It has come second before in BattleBots, but never quite gone all the way, so maybe with a good run it could one day lift the trophy. But I have this little toy just to you know, show my appreciation for Whiplash. And here we have what was my favourite BattleBots robot in the sort of early seasons, and that is Bite Force. Yeah, I love this robot. This was, you know, sort of a vertical spinner again, but probably one of the most destructive and effective ones. And just there's something about how this bot was driven and how sort of clinical it was that just made it, you know, my favourite robot. I just loved watching it. And the guy who built it, Paul Ventimiglia, was just very sort of laid back and focused, and I always like builders like that who are just, you know, it's all business. There's no bragging. There's no. It's just clinical and effective, and that's what Bite Force was all about. So it had these front forks to get under robots and feed them straight into the spinner, and it was so effective, in fact, that it's the only robot in BattleBots, the newer seasons, to defend its title. So it won series 4 and 3, so back to back. It did a Chaos too, basically, so won 2 seasons and won the first season as well, actually. But that's another story, because that's all about this, which is the original version of Bite Force. So this is its earliest incarnation, which was a tracked robot, so it had tracks on the side, and it was a completely different weapon, so it had a lifting claw, but it still managed to win the first season of BattleBots by beating Tombstone. So it won the first season, and then season 2 it didn't do so well, but then won season 3 and 4 back to back. So it's got to be the robot with the most victories. I think it has something like 20 plus victories and an unbeaten win streak. And it was my favourite robot, but unfortunately isn't anymore because it doesn't compete anymore. So after winning season 3 and 4 back to back, it never showed up again. Sort of retired undefeated. And well, I'm not really sure if it's retired, but it's just Bite Force hasn't come back since that 4th season that it won, which is a shame because I'd sort of wanted to see how its journey would end, but it hasn't come back. So maybe someday it will return, but for now it's presumed to be retired. So Bite Force, still unbeaten. But nowadays my favourite robot is this, Sawblaze. So as the name would suggest, basically this is a nice big saw on the back here. And what it'll do is the forks at the front are supposed to get under a robot like this, and the hammer saw spins up and then comes down with great force on top of opponents and smashes them to bits. And this will go through anything, Sawblaze. It's funny that you see other teams, they put all this top armor on the top to stop Sawblaze from getting through, but it doesn't matter. It'll just go through anything, no matter how much top armor you put on it, because it's such an effective design now. So it shreds batteries and starts fires and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's just a really well-driven bot. And that's why I like it. That's why it's my favourite robot right now. In fact, spoiler alert, it's actually the current defending champion of BattleBots. So yeah, that's how good it is. And I was really pleased to see it win, because the guy who built it, Jameson Go, he's a really laid-back dude. He's my kind of guy, I think. Just really laid back, you know, clinical, strategic, and no bragging, just, you know, chilled out. That's my kind of builder. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Soulblaze continues to perform, because it's one of those robots that's just evolved over the years and become really, really effective now, and it's at the top of its game, so maybe he'll defend it next time. Maybe he'll win another trophy, so yeah, he'll be a 2-chan champion perhaps. You know, that's what I'll be looking out for anyway. So yeah, Soulblaze, pretty cool, check it out. And here I have 2 robots that I don't actually think are from BattleBots or Robot Wars. I think they're just like rip-off kind of things, like cheap kind of things they made back in the early 2000s. So this one is called Sucker Punch, I think, but all it is just a big lifting arm on the front with some spikes on the back. And I did used to have a few of these. I think they made more of these. I'm not sure who made them exactly. Some sort of cheap company. You kind of used to see them in the pound shop and things like that. And this other one, which I think had like a chainsaw on top, but it's broken off in the heat of battle, but it still has the drum on the front. So yeah, even rip-off toys they made of Robot Wars and BattleBots. So that's kind of a strange oddity, these two. And I suppose one final thing to talk about is robots that weren't actually robots. So this just looks like a bunch of junk here, but let me explain. So basically, when I used to play with the Robot Wars toys as a kid, I actually wanted to do it properly and like have my own series and things like that, you know. But they didn't make enough toys really for you to do that. They only made like 11, 12 competitor robots. So what you would have to do is the number you needed was actually 96, right? You needed 96 robots if you wanted to make your own little toy series of Robot Wars. So you'd have the toys, but then you'd have to get creative and use stuff that you just had lying around, or other toys. So like this Bugs Bunny, like look at this. I think this is from Looney Tunes Back in Action. It's actually from Burger King. I don't know if you can see the logo there, but this was a Burger King toy from the Happy Meal. But it's got wheels, so I'd use it as a robot. Mostly just to get destroyed by Hypnodisc or something, but that was what you had to do back then, was just use your imagination and stuff that was lying around to use as cannon fodder. Like this is a doorstop, so this was in my box, yeah, and because it had the sort of treads on the underside, it was like, oh, it's like tracks, right? So it's like it's a robot with a wedge that runs on tracks. So yeah, that's something to just flip over and be out in seconds. Or this, which is like a hinge from a wardrobe, I think. So this was like a flipper or something to sort of flip robots up and over, which is pathetic, but you had to use what you had lying around. So yeah, and this is I think this is a Batman cape. It's from a Batman toy, so this would clip onto Batman's back. But for me, it was another way of making a robot. So you do that, and it's a flipper, right? So yeah, I had a lot of imagination as a child. You can probably tell. And this as well. This comes from a Robot Wars pit stop toy thing. It's like an accessory, but it kind of looks like a robot. So there we are, just a little axe robot there. So yeah, an example of childhood imagination at its finest, and improvising and being very creative, sometimes to the extreme. And here's another weird thing they made, is these trophies. So like toy trophies they made as well for the toys. So I think this came in a special set, these two trophies. It was Chaos 2 and Razor, and I think it came with a videotape as well, because they gave you lots of freebies back then. So it was like their respective trophies that they won at the time. So it was like First World Champion and the Fourth Wars. So that was Chaos 2, and that was Razor. So that's the competitions they won at the time. And very sort of scrap art, these trophies, aren't they? Sort of like they're made out of old scrap, which I guess is suitable for a grungy kind of show like Robot Wars. And of course, one thing you needed to play with the toys was your very own Robot Wars Arena. Now, they never made one officially for the big toys. They did make one for the mini-bots, the smaller ones, but that's another video perhaps. So if you want me to talk about the mini-bots, just let me know in the comments. But this was my homemade arena for the big toys. So this was made... my dad made this in the year of our Lord, 2000. So this is something I've never parted with because it's very special to me. So basically this is a homemade arena. I sort of added bits and pieces to this as the years went on. Like this wasn't originally here, like the markings for the flipper and the pit. That was the drop zone and a very bad flame grill. And I guess those are meant to be like the CO2 jets that would come up in the arena, but yeah, my dad built this and sort of put stickers on from the Robot Wars magazine, like that robot zone, activate. I'm amazed you can still read them actually. Attack. Yeah, these were from the magazine. Yeah, see, Robot Wars magazine. And like I said, I sort of put bits of tape on and tried to make it as accurate as I could, but those were meant to be the corner patrol zones. So yeah, this is just very nostalgic and special, so I've never gotten rid of it. So because there were a lot of battles here, you can tell, can't you, by looking at the floor. It's very worn, and the tape is peeling away, but you know, this was good for back in the day. The only thing that annoyed me is that it doesn't have any walls, so you know, you can just push shunt right off there, for instance, which I didn't like because, it had walls. You were supposed to have walls. You could throw the robots over and out, and it was more special that way, but this one didn't have walls, so I think I did try making my own at some point, but they've gotten lost somewhere. So it's back to the way it used to be. But yeah, that was my original Robot Wars Arena. Yeah, good times. Actually, it's funny to compare my arena with the real BattleBots arena they make now, which... they released a couple of years ago, so look how much bigger this is, the way they make them now, compared to my sort of homemade version. They actually do it properly now, with, look how sharp these walls are. They're actually sharp and everything. Got all the markings right and stuff, so definitely kids are spoiled now, aren't they, with what they get for their toys, whereas we had to do it the homemade way. So yeah, it's kind of funny to compare the two. But speaking of arenas, I think these are probably the two most valuable pieces in my Robot Wars collection. These actual pieces from the Robot Wars arena floor. So this is, I'm not joking, the real thing. These are actually the pieces from the original arena, because they come with a certificate. Look, Certificate of Authenticity. This is an original piece of the Robot Wars Battle Arena floor. So piece number 582 out of 1,000. So I guess if you found all the pieces, you could put the world's biggest jigsaw puzzle together and build the arena again. And the other one is piece 958. So yeah, I think I won these in an auction, quite a few years ago. And I think that's for part of the corner patrol zone, and this is from the either the pit or one of the side. The sort of hazard lines on the side of the arena. But yeah, these are really a big keepsake, because these are actual pieces of history, so this is part of the actual set. Very, very, very cool. So no, you can't have these are mine. I guess I might as well talk about some other Robot Wars stuff, like these books as well. So they put out a bunch of books based on Robot Wars back in the day, and very sort of kids oriented, I guess, like this, like fun facts. So this is like one of those little folders you could take to school. I think I remember these. They made a bunch of these for other things like Star Wars and Spider-Man, but it's like all this kind of like a planner type thing with sort of a Robot Wars skin on it. It's got a calendar and things like that for 2001 or whenever it is. And stickers as well. Stickers still intact. Yeah, I would have had those everywhere back in the day, all over the bedroom. That's the one. Keep out. That would have been on the bedroom door, definitely. And the other stuff like the official robot guide. Most of these were just guides to the robots. They'd give you all the stats and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot in these books, actually. Like seeds, they'd show you like the rankings and stuff. Wow. And who was fighting in every episode. That's cool. Yeah, these are cool, aren't they? And they made some big books too, like this, the technical manual. Like, look at this. Look at these huge books full of pictures too. Like, look at these pictures. Really detailed. You know, lovely pictures, aren't they? Photographs. And things like programs as well. So like the Seventh Wars. This was like what you'd get if you were in the audience. So you get the programs. Like, who's that? I think that's Jane Middlemiss. She was the pit reporter, and they used to have ads for the toys and things like that. 3, 2, 1, obliterate. I think you mean activate. Yeah, radio control tornado. I remember that. I never had those. That was ads was on TV all the time. But yeah, if you're at the audience, you got to see that. And this one was kind of like such a kid thing for me. The official sticker collection. So I'm sure kids from the time will remember that sticker albums were huge back then, and they made one for Robot Wars, and actually I've painstakingly collected every sticker, so this is actually a complete sticker album, if you can believe it. Every sticker is in the book, because I was that much of a Robot Wars dork. So yeah, but they're really cool stickers actually, some great photos in here. What's that say? Prepare to die. Oh, these slogans. Love it. But yeah, it is a complete sticker album, so I wonder if the Robot Wars wiki needs a copy of something like this. Should scan this or something. I even had a t-shirt of Robot Wars growing up, and the funny thing about this t-shirt is that I got this for my, well, close to my 5th birthday, when at the time, in 2001, there was a Robot Wars live tour in Cardiff, and that was my birthday present for in 2001, was I actually saw Robot Wars live in Cardiff in 2001, and managed to get this t-shirt, but obviously being 5 years old, this t-shirt looked ridiculous on me. So it looked like I was wearing a big tent. I'm sure I have photos of myself looking absolutely ridiculous with an oversized t-shirt on, but I liked it, so that's why I wore it. But of course, ironically now, years later, it's way too small for me, so yeah. Sort of a game of two halves. First it was too big, and now it's too small. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you for joining me on this little trip through robot history. I know I got a bit carried away, but sometimes you realise how much stuff you've actually collected when you start looking through it like this. But yeah, lots of fond memories, so if you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe and all that lovely stuff. And if you are a Robot Wars fan or BattleBots, let me know in the comments what your own favourite piece of Robot Wars merchandise is, or what your favourite toy is, or something like that. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, so take care! And don't you just love it when your tripod breaks so you can't get your camera at the right height for the video? So you have to hold it up with 3 Lee Evans videotapes. So I'd like to thank Lee Evans for his contribution to this video.